Hello, my name is Andy and I am the Village Idiot. I'm armed with a car and a GoPro and an unhealthy amount of time on my hands. I'm using that time to attempt to visit every civil parish in England. You're watching the Derbyshire Dales series. The Dales contain some of the most beautiful British scenery. It's a magnificent area. Here's one of its 109 civil parishes. Welcome back to the Derbyshire Dales, people. Now, in the Dales series so far, we've seen some places right in the middle, Monsell, and some places in the south, Sudbury and Marston Montgomery. We haven't seen anywhere in the north of the Dales. Well, we will today. This is the first of the Longston twins, and I've got Nikki with me and Hannah, who's currently hiding somewhere over there.
I don't look like Michelin Man today. I'm a northern bird. I've got my big coat on.
Yeah, you're going to need it because it is a little bit wet out here.
A bit damp.
So, this is Great Longstone. Here's my disclaimer for people who may be watching me for the first time. I say things as I would in my native accent and dialect. As a result, I may not pronounce things in the same way as the locals do. Remember, I'm a visitor. It's impossible to know everything. Leave me a comment, spin me a like and bash that subscribe button. Let's get to today's parish video. Hello again, Derbyshire Dales. Today we're in the north of the Dales as we take on the first of the two Longston villages. This is Great Longstone, and Little Longstone lies to its immediate west. A place called Longsdune was mentioned in the Domesday Book as belonging to Henry de Ferrers and being worth 30 shillings. This is considered to be Great Longstone. The ancient Ecclesiastical Parish of Longstone includes 5 villages and hamlets. These are Great Longstone, Little Longstone, Rowland, Hassop and Wardlow. Under the 1894 Local Government Act, the 5 villages and hamlets were all made separate civil parishes, but they are still part of the Ecclesiastical Parish of Longstone. Great Longstone has some rather amazing features. In this episode, we're going to see an old railway station with a very unique story to tell, and not just one, but 2 rare postboxes. There's even a place where stained glass is made as well. There were only 2 buildings I know I didn't catch on this route. One was Great Longstone Village Hall on Church Lane. The other was the Manor House, but there's some more coming on that in the next episode after we've taken a walk through Monsell Trail, one of many local beauty spots in this part of the Dales. I loved this place and it was only dampened, literally, by the rain. Let's go and see it. Let's get walking. We start at one of the 2 pubs in Great Longstone. This is the Crispin Inn, named after St Crispin, the patron saint of shoemakers. The pub's sign features a penny farthing made out of cast iron. We had no idea why this would be here, but it's a nice touch, isn't it? Opposite the pub is a bus shelter of a type typically built in the Peak District in the 1960s. In it, there's an awesome mosaic for Queen Elizabeth II's Diamond Jubilee. Bus-wise, you can indeed catch a service here. The bus you'll be waiting for is the 173, which runs between Castleton and the nearby town of Bakewell. There's also a parish notice board here as well, and Hannah did the honours this time. 4 down in the Dales, only 105 to go. No sweat. We'll be back to this area later for the village green and the landmarks upon it, but our next task is to head via this footpath up to Great Longstone's church. Okay, so this is where Hannah and Nikki will be leaving me briefly, because they will be making one of their cemetery slash church videos. Hopefully this church is open. Nikki's just trying the door. Is it open, Nikki? No. Okay, so it's not open, unfortunately, so everything they do will be outside. I'm going to talk a little bit about the church as well. The Church of St Giles dates from the 13th century. A medieval cross stands in its churchyard, and the head of a cross is built into the wall of its vestry. St Giles has had both 14th and 16th century additions and was fully restored between 1872 and 1873 by Richard Norman Shaw. The church was restored sensitively with as much reuse of original material as possible. The levels of its floor were rearranged, and it was seated with open oak seats. Its bells were cast by Taylor of Loughborough, and its tower clock is another that was provided by Smith of Derby. We're familiar with that name by now, aren't we? The church has a separate cemetery which can be found over the road. Mrs. TVI has made a video on this, and it's linked below. Go check it out. After exiting the churchyard, we're on Bakewell Lane, flanked to the north by some lovely countryside. If only it wasn't raining, eh? So this weather is supposed to clear up later. It's supposed to be heavy rain for a couple of hours, and then it's going to die away, hopefully. I hope it does, for one particular reason, because later, further along around this route, it'll actually be in the next episode, there's a point where you can see a fantastic view across a valley, so I'm hoping this rain has disappeared before I get to that point. Anyway, still in Great Longstone. We are heading up this road now, which is pretty much nothing apart from, you know, a few hills away in the distance, the odd property. There's a path at some point on the right which will take me back into the main village, and we can have a look at some residential areas. Our next landmark to see is Thornhill House, which is a care home situated on Barn Furlong. It's run by the John Thornhill Memorial Trust. We can take a shortcut to the home by using this footpath which connects Bakewell Lane to Main Street. It was more than a bit muddy this in the rain. Thornhill House caters for people over an area larger than just the Longston villages, including places like Wardlow and Ashford in the Water. It has 19 rooms in all. A bit further down the footpath we pass an industrial estate, Great Longstone Business Park, which is the base of Bakewell and Eam Community Transport, and that's not all. This building, according to Google, is a stained glass studio. Here a man named David Griffin designs and makes a variety of stained glass windows for all kinds of buildings. Isn't that a unique feature? I've linked his website below. At the end of the footpath we emerge onto Main Street opposite the village allotments. One for the fans. Okay, now we're coming on to the residential estate that I was talking about. So this is just basically a run of houses. It will form a nice little loop which will come back across the playing field and take us back to the main road afterwards, if I don't get too wet. This residential area is literally just that, houses, so quite frankly there's little to talk about in this section. I'll use this opportunity therefore to fill in some bits of history. Great Longstone lies in an area known as the White Peak. Many villages in this area, including Great Longstone, owe their existence primarily to lead mining. The presence of water where limestone and shale meet was probably the deciding factor in where this village was located. Good farmland was another attraction, as miners supplemented their incomes from their underground activities by keeping livestock. The modern village is a little different. There are no lead miners here these days, although there are remains of many former mines in the local area, the most notable one being in Ashford in the Water. It's called Magpie Mine. Most of the village's residents work in nearby places like Bakewell or commute north to Sheffield, which is only 20 miles away. So this footpath that I've been using is a continuous footpath, goes all the way through the estate and runs alongside the playing field. So we're about to see the playing field. It appears on the right up here. There's quite a bit on this playing field, so I'm led to believe. I know there's a playground, there's definitely a football pitch, and there may be a few other niceties. This looks like some kind of pavilion here, so I guess they play cricket on here too. Let's find out. Yes, indeed, they do play cricket here. You're looking at the 12th man, the alternative name for the cricket pavilion at Great Longstone Cricket Club. The club are a favourite with away sides owing to the standard of the tea served here. The ground also boasts panoramic views of the spectacular surrounding countryside. The club was founded in 1860 and it's been a huge influence on village life ever since. The field also features a playground, seen here, some tennis courts and a football pitch too. Once over the playing field, we're now on Sunnybank. This little shop was a local butcher's. I'm not totally sure what it is now though. We're going to the right now, briefly passing Springbank on the way so that we can catch Great Longstone's village shop, although as you're about to see it wasn't very open. Mind you, it was still before 10 AM, which is when they open on a Saturday normally. I've linked their Facebook page below. They seem like a vital village service. Okay, now we're heading the other way and we should reconvene with Nikki and Hannah up here. They're apparently waiting in the bus stop that we saw earlier, and obviously I'll be passing the green again, so I'll be talking a bit about the things that are on there. There's the war memorial, there's a cross, and there's also the village school to see up here too. Going this way on Main Street, we have the White Lion. This is a traditional family-run pub with a contemporary interior, great food, log fires, and a friendly welcome. Next, we've got not just one, but two notable postboxes. Both of them bear the cipher of George VI. Here's the first, a pillar box, which stands on the green in front of the pub, and here's the other one, set into a wall right next to Longston C of E Primary School. The current school was originally built in 1862 and it was extended in 1971 and 1999. It has 6 classes with a computer centre, a library and a sports hall. Outside, it has a pond and a conservation area too. Then we have the village's war memorial. This is a sandstone pillar with a decorative top, pedestal and base within a fenced compound. There's 18 names on this one. And just beyond that, we have a 15th century market cross. Markets were held here to sell local produce, and an annual fair took place during Wakes Week. So now we've turned the corner, we're heading for an old railway station. Behind me is the Methodist Chapel, which Hannah has just left a card on in a very skew-whiff fashion. If it's still there and you want to have a look at it, I tell you, it's not neatly in a corner like I do it. Nikki and Hannah are with me, and we are heading down towards the old railway. It's about a 5-minute walk, maybe 10-minute walk. And when we get there, we'll talk about the next thing. Our last place to visit in Great Longstone is a former railway station. Originally known as Longston Station, this was opened in 1863 by the Midland Railway. The line that ran through here was an extension of the Manchester, Buxton, Matlock and Midlands Junction Railway, and it carried both passengers and goods. In 1913, the station was renamed Great Longstone for Ashford, referring to nearby Ashford in the Water. It closed to the general public in 1962. However, it remained open for just one woman, a local resident named Mrs. A. Boardman, to allow her to travel to and from work. This rather unusual quirk has been immortalised in a film called It Only Stops for Her. Trains passed through the station until 1968, when the line was fully closed. The former track bed is now part of the Monsell Trail, which runs for 8.5 miles between the towns of Bakewell and Buxton, passing some amazing landmarks on the way. Just before we leave Great Longstone behind, here's a special section about the land to the north of the Longston villages, Longston Moor and Longston Edge. The moor is one of the few remaining areas of limestone heathland in the Peak District. It's considered to be of particular importance for its lichens, rare in the Peak District and in lowland Britain in general. The moor has 3 scheduled monuments as well, 2 of which are bowl barrows, and the 3rd being the remains of Cackle Mackle lead mine. What a great name. As well as the moor, there's also Longston Edge, which is a noted beauty spot. Longston Edge is a limestone ridge some 1,300 feet in height on an upfolding of the Derbyshire limestone known as the Longston Anticline. It has been, and still is in places, quarried heavily for limestone, something which has been controversial in the past. Even so, it remains absolutely gorgeous. Now, of course, because the Monsell Trail is such a long trail, we will be seeing it again in future places. But for now, that is as far as we are talking about it in this episode at least. But we are going to follow the trail for a short distance, for about 25 minutes or so, as we head for Little Longstone, the other Longston twin. And on the way, we'll be passing through a tunnel. That's Headstone Tunnel. And that is where I'm going to start next week's episode. For now, this has been the parish of Great Longstone, and I've been Andy, also known as the Village Idiot, and I'm out.